I was reflecting on the evening that was to come, it seemed to me that we were going to have a tapestry that really has themes of journeys, teams, camaraderie, family, hard work, joy, and a passion for our sport. I've known Brian Hainline for almost 20 years. We actually started together with the USTA on a doubles task force. And this struck me as kind of interesting, remembering that we were going to end the evening inducting Mike and Bob. It was kind of fun because this task force was under the presidency of Franklin Johnson, who was interested in promoting doubles. And at a meeting, and I think it was the O'Hare Airport or something, Brian was chairing this task force, and Billie Jean King was there, and Craig Tiley was there. And we were really talking about what we could do to promote doubles. And I think we're going to end the evening thematically on what you guys did in terms of the world of doubles. And as I've gotten to know Brian throughout the years, all of a sudden a bunch of things came together. One of them was the pandemic. And as you heard John Vigozin say, obviously Brian's the chief medical officer of the NCAA. And I want to thank him for not only helping the ITA, but I think guiding all of college sports through the pandemic. If you think about that, you know, it's quite a remarkable accomplishment. The ITA was actually one of the first national governing bodies to actually start having competition as the pandemic was ongoing. And then as the season went on, I called Brian and said, hey, can we have a national team indoors? And he said, let me call you back. And he called back because he's always thoughtful, and he said, I think you can have the event, but you can't have any congregate events, meaning things like banquets and the like. And we actually were able to navigate the pandemic, I think, much like the USTA, showing that tennis was really a safe sport, and we've all seen the growth. But there's many things that really impress me about Brian. One, I don't know if he sleeps more or less than John, but to be the chairman of the board and the chief medical officer, and also to continue to do research is pretty astonishing. And I just want to close by saying, as John mentioned, we had our ITA convention, and the other day, amidst his really busy schedule, Brian came and gave a talk to the ITA convention, and it was at 4 o'clock. And I was thinking, I hope at the end of the day a bunch of coaches show up, because the talk was about mental health. And the place was packed. And John, you mentioned that we were having a trifecta. There was another first, and I'm not sure Brian even shared it with Pascal, because Brian showed up and gave his first ever lecture on medicine wearing shorts. And we didn't put it in the upcoming video, and I was reluctant to share this because he didn't get permission from Pascal. He just got it from me. But one of the things that our coaches said, which is what I really want to reflect on, is that here is a profound scholar who gave us really practical advice. So not only has he done research that's actually generated really great results, but he shared it with coaches in a way that said, for example, here's what we've found, but sleep is really an important issue. And he literally got their attention by going, hey, if your players are getting injured, or if they're actually double faulting, find out if they're sleeping well enough. And there was an entire checklist of what we needed to do in terms of CPR and mental health interventions. But the reality is, I've not only had a great personal joy in working with Brian for almost 2 decades, but not only does our sport owe him a great debt of gratitude, but all of the world of intercollegiate athletics does. So I'm really honored to just say a few words, and then what we're going to do, just so all of the inductees know the plan, we're going to run the video, and then instead of me coming up and saying, and now Peter Smith's going to talk to you, the inductees will come up, and then we're going to actually make a presentation. We're going to take some photos. But I want to thank not only Josh for creating the videos and Zach for taking photos, but all of the inductees. If you want to take any photos after, let's say, family photos, whether it's the step and repeat or like, we'll do that afterwards. But the order is going to be video, presentation, then I'm going to say a few words about the next inductees, and it'll flow like that. But let's cue the video for Dr. Hainline, and then Brian can be prepared to make his remarks.
As the Chief Medical Officer of the NCAA and Chairman of the Board and President of the USTA, Brian Hainline has become fundamental to the safety and improvement of our 520,000 student athletes across the country, as well as many more across the globe. Previously serving as the Chief Medical Officer of the USTA and the US Open Championships, Brian has given more than 25 years to the advancement of sports medicine and to tennis.
Well, I grew up playing tennis in Detroit and was a classic public parks player. I remember finally taking a bus to either Stouffville Park or Palmer Park, and we would hang out, and a bunch of parents were around, and they sort of arranged games for us and got us to tournaments. And then I was able to play in college, got into Notre Dame and played for them and worked my way up to #1 my senior year in singles and doubles. Tennis was great because for so much of the time, especially in the spring and fall, you would either be on campus competing or going to other schools, and it was really a way to get outside of the school environment, get away from some of the pressures of school. And I mean, it really was a lot of fun to be with my teammates, and the collegiate experience was just fantastic for so many different reasons, and not the least of which was just being able to play really high-level competitive tennis.
After a career in collegiate sports, Brian would continue his journey by receiving his MD from the University of Chicago and starting his research in the field of neurology in New York. But it would be years before Brian would realize his true calling in the world of tennis and sports medicine.
You know, I came into sports through medicine almost by accident. The first 6 years of my career in neurology was doing brain tumor research and had nothing to do with sports medicine, sports neurology, or you know, working at the NCAA level. And it was about 6 years into that where I was asked to contribute to a book on drug use in sports, and one thing led to another. And I got a call kind of out of the blue to join the Hospital for Joint Disease as part of New York University and be their director of clinical and sports neurology. And I had no idea what sports neurology even was, but I accepted the position as a challenge. And interestingly, that same year, I got a call from the USTA, from Marshall Happer in particular, the executive director at the time, and he asked if I would be the chief medical officer for the US Open Tennis Championships. And within a span of a few months, the next thing you know, I was doing sports neurology and was the chief medical officer for the US Open. And one thing led to another, and ultimately that began my journey into sports neurology and ultimately becoming chief medical officer of the NCAA.
For Brian, this journey was all about looking at sports not as the goal of winning or losing, but as a catalyst for human development and the advancements of athletes everywhere.
It's been extraordinary to watch him in action because there aren't enough hours in the day to account for how much Brian contributes to our sport.
I think what I'm most passionate about is just looking again at sport as a public health good, because we keep forgetting that sport is about human development. And so when you're looking at sport, it's not just about wins or losses. You're really looking at a long-term journey. But along the way, you know, for athletes, when we really think about it, in the human development, you're learning to be goal-oriented. You're learning to take care of yourself. You're learning how to fall down and pick yourself up. You're learning how to work as a team. You're being protected as a team. And so just that whole concept, I can't emphasize it enough, that sport is so critically important for public health good and for human development.
You know, what is really so impressive about Brian is that he has this intense moral compass, and he's used that moral compass to contribute to tennis being inclusive, ethical, and a great model for sport for America.
He's been a trailblazer in delivering top quality health care and innovative services to the players. His approach goes beyond providing specialty services during the tournament and treating each player holistically and comprehensively. And the level of trust and confidence that our players have in Brian's care is remarkable.
And not only is Brian committed to ensuring that people have access, Brian is committed to ensuring that tennis is safe for all. I want to congratulate Brian on this well-deserved honor. Tennis in America is better off because of Brian's participation. Tennis around the world is better because Brian has committed so much of his life to elevating the game, and we're just so appreciative, and we couldn't be more fortunate than to have Brian leading the USTA. I just say well done and congratulations.
Congratulations, Brian, on your induction and for everything that you've done with your passion and purpose-led leadership for the sport, for the USTA. You've helped us raise our game throughout the years, and I just personally also want to thank you for your dedication to the health of women and their well-being, both on and off the court.
Brian, congratulations on your induction to this prestigious Tennis Hall of Fame. You're well deserving to be part of its tradition of excellence. Your impact continues to grow stronger and stronger with each passing day, and I can't wait to see what you will achieve next.
Well, good evening, everyone. I first want to thank my fellow inductees, Bob and Mike and Peter, and then Mike and Patrick, and thank the ITA, and thank the USTA and NCAA for being here. I just wanted to share 3 short stories that kind of happen, you never know in life by accident, but they shape your life. So one was when I was playing college tennis. This is actually my junior year, and you know, Notre Dame had a decent team. We won the Eastern Intercollegiates, but we weren't that good, really. But, you know, we were okay. But I was playing number 2 my junior year. It was the beginning of this spring trip, and I quit the team. And I didn't know why I quit the team. I lost my scholarship because of that. My parents said, you know, you're going to have to pay for your senior year. But I actually fell into a very deep clinical depression, but didn't know it at the time. Because you didn't talk about that stuff. You couldn't talk about it with your family, with your friends. You couldn't even talk about it with yourself. And I kind of struggled through that and didn't play tennis and went on sort of this self-search. And then I remember like yesterday, my senior year, I was walking across from O'Shaughnessy Hall and saw the new Rockne building down the way, and I said, God, you know, why am I not playing tennis? I love this game so much. I've come to understand myself a bit better. So I decided I was going to walk right into Coach's office. It was Coach Tom Fallon. And I walked into his office. He happened to be there. And I said, Coach, you know, I want to apologize for quitting the team. And, you know, I want to join the team again. And he didn't even blink. He said, okay, 3 conditions. I said, okay, what are they? He said, first is you don't quit the team. I said, Coach, I'm on my knees begging to play, so I'm not going to quit the team. He says, fine. Second, you get no money. I said, Coach, I've been working, I got some great jobs, I got college loans, I don't need money. He said, fine. Third, tomorrow morning, you're going to play the number 16 player in a challenge match. And this was a Friday afternoon. And I started stammering and, you know, trying to give excuses, and he says, you're out of here, I'll see you tomorrow morning at 8. So it was fine, but I hadn't played in a year. And that night, you know, we were living off campus, there were 6 guys in a house, and next door there were 6 young ladies. And we had a party planned for that night. It was a pajama party. And the theme was that you come dressed to this pajama party as you would normally come dressed, you know, when you go to bed. So, and I'm pretty sure in the archives of Notre Dame it's still the best party that was ever had. But I didn't sleep that night very well. I lost my match to the number 16 player. And I asked Coach if I could come back. He gave me a chance to come back. And I eventually worked my way up to number 1 that year. But what was important about that is that was the first time that I understood that life has purpose, that tennis has purpose, and that tennis gives me purpose. So that was really a foundation that I'll never forget, and it's the foundation of me being here today. A second short story, I was interviewing for my neurology residency, and it was, you know, considered maybe the most prestigious residency in the country. It was at the New York Hospital Cornell. This guy, Fred Plum, who was a terror, but he was a genius. And I interviewed with him, and, you know, after 10 minutes, he sized me up. And for the next 50 minutes of the interview, he said, how did you double major in philosophy and science and play tennis and compete and this and that? You know, and I don't remember what I said. I actually do remember what I said. I said, you know, well, Dr. Plum, discipline is the key to freedom. And I believe in discipline. And on the spot, he said, Brian, I want you. You're going to be one of the 5 people who's going to be part of this program, and you're going to teach all of the other residents discipline. You're going to teach them about the mind and the body. And so I was all excited. I called my wife. I said, I think I got into this program, but I don't think it's because he thinks I'm smart. But it really was the foundation for my academic career. And the third was, and it was mentioned in the video, it was a Friday afternoon. Marshall Happer called me up and asked me to be Chief Medical Officer of the U.S. Open. And at that time, the only people who did sports medicine were orthopedic surgeons. And I said, Marshall, I can guarantee you, I don't think I'm qualified for this job, but he convinced me I could try it out. But the orthopedic surgeons are going to go haywire, and they're going to go on a campaign against me. And sure enough, in New York City, there was a campaign against me that, there's some flimsy neurologist who's going to be running this as Chief Medical Officer of the U.S. Open. But it was very important because that truly was the beginning of when sports medicine went away from orthopedic surgery. It began the subspecialty we now call sports neurology, and it was the beginning of sports medicine as an academic enterprise that was not about surgery but was about holistically treating people. And I've been on that journey ever since. And it's because of those 3 particular incidents that I'm here today. Plus some luck and a lot of love and some hard work and discipline, the key to freedom along the way. And right now, I do believe that we're in such a unique place in tennis. Tim mentioned it, the USTA, the ITA, the NCAA have never been cooperating like before. The 4 Grand Slams have never been cooperating like they are right now. In fact, the tennis world has never been more together. And there's great reason for it, because all of the data tell us that tennis is the healthiest sport on this planet. Tennis is doing fantastic. And I just will end today by saying that I believe I've been blessed with all of the things that have brought me here through tennis, through sport, through academics. And I'm going to do everything in my power, I pledge to you, to work with all of our stewards of sport, everyone in this room, to make certain that one day the entire world understands that tennis is the model sport. So thank you, everyone.